Hello and welcome to this installment of our Industry Leadership Series. I'm Brian Dobson, Head of SPAC and Disruptive Technology Equity Research at Chardan Capital Markets. As always, I'll start the call with some important disclosures. During this call, we will not be discussing Chardan research. Any discussions about research should be coordinated between a participant and their respective salesperson. Our compliance team has asked me to read this statement for the investor call. By participating in this call, our speakers attest that they have made Chardan aware of any potential conflicts, and they will not discuss any material, non-public, or confidential information that they are aware of that may breach their legal, regulatory, or fiduciary responsibilities to any party. So with that dispensed, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce Andrea Pedretti, co-founder and CEO of NRGV, and Marco Terruzzin, Chief Product and Commercial Officer. Gentlemen, I apologize for butchering both of your surnames. I will endeavor to do better in the future.
No problem.
Yeah, it's very nice to have both of you here. Thanks again. Thank you for joining us this morning. And I suppose, as is our habit on this call series, perhaps we could start with a few big picture questions facing the industry and your company. So as you look out at the global landscape, what do you identify as the global mechanisms that are shaping storage over the next few years? And how have you positioned the company to prosper within that environment?
Maybe I can take a first shot to this part of the question. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share our perspective. The industry is accelerating dramatically, particularly in the last couple of years. And I think that there are three major macro trends at play. First, it is a transition to a low carbon economy with the introduction of more renewable energy. Renewable energy by design, it's intermittent, and there is a significant need for energy storage to create the buffer to the power industry and keep the light on. Second, most recently, there has been also a problem of security of supply that is very clear in Europe with the sourcing of natural gas from part of the globe that are geopolitically unstable, and this is accelerating further the transition to source of energy that are more localized. And the alternative is only increasing and accelerating the transition to renewable energy. The third macro trend that is at play that probably has not been yet completely understood, it is the need from a country of more local supply chain to make sure that this transition is generating economic value, not only in part of the world like China or Asia, that have been the first mover in terms of setting up supply chain for this transition, and I'm referring to production of solar panel, blades, and a wind farm, but also for the storage industry that is the required enabler for the transition.
Excellent. And I guess further expanding upon that, how would you characterize the competitive landscape right now? And how has it changed over the past few months? How do you expect it to change over the next year?
So I would say that when we talk about renewable energy, there is a trend that is accelerating based on an established path. I mean, the production and the manufacturing of solar panel is something that is already ongoing for 2 decades. The same for renewable energy. Differently, for when we come to energy storage, that is part of the supply chain in the industry that is relatively young. And we are at an inflection moment because we start to feel the pain of this transition. So load service entity, utility, independent power producers now, they have to use more energy storage to make sure that they are able to deliver electricity as it's needed and required by the utilities that ultimately have to provide electricity to the users. Second, a growing industry like energy storage has been accelerating in the installation of assets. And I think that in the first phase of this effort between 2016 and 2021, there has been an attempt to grab a lot of land, simply speaking. So companies, they try to capture as much business as possible, but the margin captured by this company, they were not in line with the expectation of the public market. And I think that now there is a interesting correction in general by the most important company in the industry to target a healthy margin, and this gives a chance to a company with a portfolio of technology that are economically competitive and disruptive. And this is an opportunity also for a company like Energy Vault with a strong energy management software system that makes it easy for customer, the adoption of energy storage, and a portfolio of technology for long duration and short duration to fit and match the customer needs.
Yeah, maybe on something also about the technology and the product part. In the energy sector, you never have one only solution. There is never one solution. Similar to generation, you had coal, nuclear, hydro, and renewable gas. I mean, you have a lot of generation technologies. Similar today, we see that there are a lot of storage, also emerging technologies. So there are not only batteries. There are, thermodynamic ideas. There are compressed air, liquid air, CO2 compression. There are many technologies that are developed, pushed by the market need of energy storage. So as a company, we explore all of these technology also, and thanks to the software, able to manage different storage technologies. And this, I think, is very important. Is a key of success to be able to manage different kind, because each technology has its own peculiarities. There is some technology that are very high round trip efficiency, like batteries and gravity. There are technologies that are cheaper in terms of cost of energy, but have a much lower round trip efficiency. So the use case can be different. So, and then if you have an industrial user that requires 24/7 energy, maybe the round trip efficiency is not so important. If you want to trade over the grid, you want a 2-hour, 1-hour system, round trip efficiency is very important. And also the life, the cycle, how many cycles you can do is also important. And managing all this, how you manage the cycle, how you decide if you want to discharge now or later in the future, is a very complex problem that requires deep knowledge of all the technologies. This is also what EDS is doing.
Do you think that, it's interesting that you bring up alternatives. Do you think that for investors that are perhaps not quite as close to your story, you could outline how your technology works and how it compares with the dominant long duration energy storage facility in the market, pumped hydro storage? Maybe compare and contrast some of the benefits of your technology in relation to pumped hydro storage.
Yeah, so maybe when we started the company, this is interesting. Myself and Bill Gross were discussing about the need of storage for renewable, and it was mentioned that the keyword is storage, and like the keyword was the keyword by the time Google was founded. So storage would be very important. And we started exactly from pumped hydro. I'm Swiss, as you can imagine from the name. We have a lot of pumped hydro in Switzerland, and we started with this idea. So how we can use or mimic pumped hydro everywhere in the world, using the good qualities of pumped hydro. The fact that it's simple, very well-known technology. But the problem is that it requires the right topology. and you have to flood the land, and this is a problem for ecosystem, and it's actually difficult now to install new pump hydro. So we started the brainstorming. Actually, we iterated, I think, almost 1 year over different topologies, how to create similar pump hydro. And actually, we started the company with water still in mind, using similar to AVX building, but with water. And then we end up with the system we have now with gravity, because for a few important reasons. One is that water is not present everywhere. So even if you want to put a gravity system in the desert, you don't have water, and you would have strong evaporation issues. Second, water is required container, and the density is only one. And as you know, the energy is given by the mass and the height. So you need both mass and height. So the denser your material you're moving up and down, the more potential energy you can achieve with the same footprint. So, and on top of it, the mechanical energy conversion is much better if you go straight mechanically without any fluid turbine, propeller, pumps. The efficiency is lower. If you have to move fluid, you have friction on the pipe, friction on the bend, on the valves. And so basically the gravity system leveraged the very good performance of motor generator, similar to pump hydro, but with a higher efficiency. So at the end of the day, we have all the advantage of pump hydro, which is basically infinite life. I mean, there is no degradation over time. Very long life of the system. Very simple, nothing new, no chemistry, no fancy stuff. Higher round trip efficiency than pump hydro, and the same advantages. A little bit more flexibility than pump hydro, because we have two product lines, basically one with inverter and one without inverter. So the one with inverter can really adjust quickly, not as quick as a battery, but quickly, matter of second, the power output or input, while the other system, it's just base load, it's more straight connected to the grid, so synchronous machine, so very high round trip efficiency, but less flexible. So the customer can choose one of those products, while pump hydro is only basically, you can tune 50% up to 100%, but you cannot go down lower, and you cannot change the charging discharging ratio as freely as you want. So these are a little bit the main differences.
And you brought up an interesting point there, that you were considering using water as the mobile mass prior to developing your own mobile mass system. Could you talk a little bit about, I guess, some of the green benefits of your mobile mass and how they can be used to, let's say, put mining waste to work, and some of the partnerships that you have with mining companies?
Yeah, this is also a plus value that you mentioned properly. So the baseline design of our system is using local dirt. So the soil that we excavate, maybe for the foundation or to flatten the land, and then packing our bricks with a special mixer and cement-based polymer. And but obviously in these bricks you can embed the interesting material, for example, mining tailing. Mining tailing in general are a waste, but could be very valuable for us because they are heavier normally than dirt. Okay? Regular dirt is about 1.6 in density, while mine tailing can be up to 3.5. So very interesting, because they are general waste sitting there on the mining, and they use space for nothing, and they leach out into the ground, which is not good in general. And so if you can confine it in blocks and use it profitably, it's very interesting. Moreover, the mining industry is a very energy intense industry that wants to shift to renewable. And so this is a perfect win-win approach. Another important aspect is the coal combustion residuals, so coal ash. So interesting, because in the past you burn coal to make energy. Now you have renewable and storage, and you can the coal combustion residuals to do something for renewable, which is pretty cool. Coal combustion residuals are also ashes that are sitting there, sometimes with pollutant, as you know probably, and confining them in a matrix. It's very very good because you can block any leaching, and you can manage in a building. You can control the behavior and the life of the blocks. Is very important. There is no advantage in the gravity because the density is similar to the soil at most, but at least you can use you can solve a problem and make it.
And is there the potential for mining companies to gain carbon offset credits by utilizing waste in that manner?
Yeah, we have some interesting project to try to make the CO2 sequestration in those kind of material. You know, cement is a CO2 eater actually, and there are a lot of technologies that are developing there. So we are exploring those technologies. We have not finalized anything concrete yet, but we are looking for technologies to also this carbon credit, which could be very, very interesting.
Excellent. So shifting gears a little bit, can you give us a little bit of an update on your progress on your recent project and developments there, and how you expect that facility to help you win new business in other markets?
I mean, this is very exciting because in the last few days, we just made an important announcement on contract sign and additional business won. So there's been a announcement for project one in the United States for a total of almost 500 megawatt hour of one very important project that is undergoing and under construction in China, the first 100 megawatt hour in collaboration with our partner CNTY in China. Thanks to that collaboration, we made a strategic decision to leverage a local partner in China. We are seeing now the result of that collaboration with the announcement 1 month ago for the selection of gravity as a key technology, selected technology for deployment of 2 gigawatt hour of a gravity energy storage system in a carbon neutral center in China. And we know how China is on one side contributing to the large volume of emission, but at the same time fighting the cause of those emissions. So we are very happy that we can play a role not only here in the United States or in Australia, but also in China, trying to curb as fast as possible the emission. We also have a great relationship with our investors in Australia, in particular Korean Zinc, and one of their subsidiary company, Arc Energy, is developing very large project of wind and solar in Australia. And our technology for long duration application is essential to make sure that they have a target levelized cost of storage that will make the production of green hydrogen very competitive. And circling back to the point of carbon emission, helping countries like Korea and eventually also Europe to adapt quickly the consumption of green hydrogen and reducing the utilization of carbon-intensive fuel like natural gas, and also reducing the dependency of sourcing natural gas or carbon-intensive fuel from part of the world that are geopolitically unstable.
Excellent. I guess bringing it back to the United States, and thank you for walking us around those various geographies. The Inflation Reduction Act was recently passed. Have you had time to look at it and to see if there are any aspects that you might be able to benefit from, or maybe you could elaborate on how you think it will benefit, call it energy storage as a sector?
Yeah, first of all, the ultimate beneficiary of the Inflation Reduction Act must be our customer, because if we start with the concept that storage has to be the most economically attractive as possible, only when the users of the technology can benefit of a support scheme like the Inflation Reduction Act, that is the ultimate proof that the system works. And this is the case. In particular, we are able to take a full advantage of the clause of the Inflation Reduction Act when we come to boosters. You know that there is a possibility for our customer, like utilities, independent power producer, and large energy users, that by nature they want to keep on their balance sheet these assets. They want to own, they buy these assets from us. We deliver energy storage systems on the base of an EPC contract or build, commissioning, and transfer. They buy the system from us, and at that point they can monetize the investment tax credits. The investment tax credits also for storage standalone is structured in a way that if using prevailing wages and apprenticeships in the construction of these assets, our customers, they can monetize 30% investment tax credits. So this is equivalent to a discount on the cost of the asset. In addition, the IRA allows an additional boost to the ITC, an additional 10%, if the baseline is at 30%. So they can go up to 40% if the majority of the equipment has a local content, domestic content. And our proprietary technology, Gravity, is designed to leverage on domestic content for up to 90% of the economic value that we deliver to the customer. If we think about the foundation, the fixed frame, and the mobile masses, everything is sourced locally. So this makes a significant difference in the industry, because going back to the initial comment about the unit economics, renewable energy as an industry has always been an industry that was forced to think in terms of reduction of cost, something unusual, because other industries usually they project price that are in a contango. They are not in backwardation. The other industry, the price, telecommunication, pharmaceutical, because of inflation and other macro trend, usually the expected price in the future is higher. For renewable, the expected price must be lower because renewable has to be more competitive than fossil fuel generation. And for that reason, having an advantage of a 10% discount, additional 10% because of local content, make a tremendous difference. We are also working on exploiting the same 10%, not only on the long duration energy storage with our proprietary technology, Gravity, but also on a shorter duration application, thanks to our proprietary architecture. Last September, we launched and we expanded our activities that we call Energy Vault Solution, because they are focused exactly on what the customer are in need for. And this gives us an additional edge. Ultimately, we think that the Inflation Reduction Act, it's an opportunity, in particular for North America, to catch up and close the gap with other parts of the world that have been more, let's say, stable in supporting low carbon technologies and low carbon economies. And the United States have done a tremendous job back in the 90s, pushing, for example, for the execution of the Kyoto Protocol. But there has been some ups and downs, in this journey of the last 20 years. So we welcome the IRA. Our customer have selected us to take advantage of IRA through our technological platform. And I believe that now is a matter of execution and acceleration of deployment of these assets.
Excellent, thanks. And maybe we can chat a little bit about something I'm very excited about. Do you think you could tell us about your energy management software potential and perhaps how you see that developing over the coming year?
Yeah, thank you for the question, because very often when we talk about energy storage, the discussion goes to the hardware component of the solution itself. And of course, that is essential, because without a economically competitive hardware solution and a solution that has performance in line with the expectation and the need of the grid and the customer, you have nothing. At the same time, a solution, a hardware solution that does not have a powerful energy management system and energy management software will not enable the customer to exploit the expected returns from that asset. So we have designed the most advanced energy management system starting from this consideration. First, the system has to be extremely flexible. Our EMS has to be the most flexible and with the largest number of libraries of use cases in the industry. Because if we do not provide customer with the flexibility to plug and play our software with existing libraries that enable them to participate in market like ERCAT, and from ERCAT to the market in Scotland or the market on the east coast of Australia. And we lead them to develop and calibrate the software by themselves. For sure, the adoption of our solution and ultimately the adoption of a solution will slow down. So it was essential to design a software that is very flexible and generous in terms of libraries. Another example of how much this is important is related to the type of use cases, not only a geographic presence. Some of our customers and also investors, I want to mention like the company of BHP, Korean Zinc, and their subsidiary company in Australia like Arc Energy. They are trying to decarbonize not only the utilization of electricity, but also the use of the carbon intensity of their transportation operation on mines. And if you just look at the volume of diesel used at an average coal mine is mesmerizing. We are talking about hundreds of thousands of gallons of diesel per year. So those industries are the so-called hard to decarbonize. And thanks to the adoption of low carbon target by these companies, now the challenge is how to use renewable energy to decarbonize transportation. And there is this very interesting and promising opportunity that is represented by green hydrogen that is underplay and that is happening. So our software is helping not only the coordination and orchestration of energy storage assets that have to be charged with a renewable energy coming from solar and wind, but also the decision of how to use that electricity, green electricity, to activate electrolyzers and when to convert hydrogen, that at that point we call green hydrogen because it was generated with the green electricity, into green ammonia. And you need a significant amount of predictive analytics to make sure that that fuel, green fuel, is generated at the right time when the truck that is operating on those mines needs fuel. So this is really the philosophy behind the architecture of our software, making sure that we have a software that is very flexible, is friendly in terms of API for our customer, is comprehensive in terms of libraries and use case, and understand ultimately why the customer should pay some fees for our software if they ultimately have to generate economic value for them. So we start with the customer need in mind.
Yeah, that's very exciting. And the software's ability to consistently improve results over time by learning from past experience is just very compelling. We have a few questions from our audience. The first of which centers around the M&A landscape and potential consolidation in the industry. Our audience member asks, are there any opportunities for you to broaden your offering and customer base through acquisitions?
Oh, currently, our focus, NRGV, is we became a public company this February. We have been very focused on delivering the results and executing on our strategy. I think that that is the focus of the company currently. We are trying to deliver more than what we promise. Okay, this is our culture. Try to make sure that we will deliver more value to our shareholders than what originally expected. This is in particular my job, the job of Andrea, and the other 140 people at NRGV. We are making sure that we are not missing opportunities, because it's a very healthy industry currently. There are new companies, new startups that are rapidly developing solutions that are helpful to our customer and synergistics. So I would say that we do not exclude opportunities in terms of looking at companies with technologies and solutions synergistic to our value proposition. But really what is driving our decision and our mindset every day is to deliver on time, on budget, and making sure that our customers are a recurring customer, because that is the secret, ultimately, of our future success.
Yeah, that focus on the core business, certainly something we appreciate. I'm sorry, go ahead, Andrea.
So yes, on the technology side, in the past, we have been approached by different companies. Obviously, as soon as you get public, you get approached by smaller companies. Marco was saying about new technology, new things. So my job is also to evaluate all these kind of technologies that companies that are presenting us, basically ideas and concept, and evaluating them for potential acquisition or licensing or these kind of things. So, but as Marco was pointing out, our main focus is on our development, but obviously we are always keeping an eye on things, on different technologies. As I was mentioning before, we want to be the energy storage company. So obviously there is no one technology, there are many technologies, and so we don't want to miss this opportunity.
Great. Our next question from the audience has to do with long-term energy storage demand. Are you seeing more demand out there for long-duration storage systems? And what sectors of the economy is that demand coming from?
The answer in short is yes. I think the entire industry is experiencing a much higher demand than what we were forecasting just 2 years ago. Of course, this is an industry that has to deliver asset, so the additional growth is not in the range of doubling what we were expecting 2 years ago, but definitely there is 20-30% more demand just over the next 24 to 36 months than what we were expecting. It has been an interesting time the last 2-3 years, because clearly the pandemic and also a kind of a shift in terms of relationship between Asia and Europe and the United States have changed the traditional view of how supply chain are working. But if you think that in 2021 there was a total deployment of something between 26 to 27 gigawatt hour, we see also directly with our orders a significant acceleration. Just yesterday, we announced a strategic relationship with one of our customers. that we have already announced project with, and we are talking about additional 2.4 gigawatt hour. Because of the presence in China, now we are not talking anymore about a megawatt hour. Just a few years ago, there was the club of the 100 that was, a well-known media company that was publishing every 3 months a reference to who developed 100 megawatt hour projects. And now a 100 megawatt hour project is considered a relatively standard project in the industry. So the expansion is dramatic. The importance of quality is paramount at this point, because installing assets with some problems in terms of thermal runaway or lack of performance will generate issues in the industry, because not only these assets will not perform, but will create doubt about the adoption of this new technology. So it's very important to go back to the importance of delivering on time, on budget, and with the right level of quality. But in general, coming back to your question, because of what is happening in Europe, we see also a very interesting demand coming from the northern part of Europe that will probably materialize in the next few months for us. The growth is, there is the velocity at which company, utilities, independent power producer, and large energy user are referring and going towards renewable energy storage has already accelerated.
Yeah, also maybe on the duration requirement, at the beginning, utilities were looking for some adjustments, so short duration, just to have time to ramp up some gas power plants and gas peaker. So you're asking for half an hour, 1 hour. Then more and more renewable, you need not just a gas peaker, you need some more. So you need more time to ramp up. So you are going 2 hours, 4 hour system. And nowadays there is also a lot of industries. Industries in the past, large industries in the past, they have energy management, they have energy dealer in a house to negotiate the energy, but they always rely on external supply. 90% rely on external supply, on utility giving the energy. Now there is this transition where also industry are looking to go into the storage business to get their own energy and renewable energy. So also this transition, and industry requires much longer duration storage in general, because they are typical industry operate 24/7, and so they need to charge in 4 to 8 hour and discharge to 12 to 16 hours, that range. So it's interesting. So not only utilities and independent power producers, even industries, and special mining industry, obviously, it's one very important one that is trying to enter a little bit and extend the activity also in the energy, because energy is key for the cost of the material at the end of the day. Processing is dominant.
Well, I think that this has been a really insightful use of time. Would you like to perhaps leave our audience with a few final thoughts on where you think the company is going longer term?
Maybe I begin with the technology, Marco, if you want. So just give an outlook on the technology. So we are working on always optimizing our gravity system. So our optimization of the gravity system in terms of the key performance parameters, so round trip efficiency, life, operational maintenance, cost reduction, general cost reduction, trying to automate as much as possible on the construction and automation and on the maintenance. So this is our focus on the gravity. It's to keep up with the development. And then we, as I was mentioning, we're looking around other things, not only gravity. It's also my focus as a CTO, checking what's going on in the market on all other technologies, so thermodynamic, non-lithium, lithium, other electrochemicals. So we think that we want to for the next 5 years continue to be on the edge of the technology in the storage, stationary storage specifically.
Yeah, building upon what just Andrea mentioned, I think this is super interesting because it's a matter of describing how we are delivering value for our customers. Having currently a portfolio of solution that I can fulfill the need for short duration and long duration energy storage with the software that enables the customer to operate in an optimized and economical manner this asset. I think it gives us the opportunity to develop relationship and provide a solution collecting data through our digital energy storage solutions that enable the customer today to operate the asset at the duration that they need. For example, in the ERCOT market, the typical duration is something between 1 and 2 hours. So it's still challenging today to push asset, considering the average cost of storage, for a duration longer than 2 or 3 hours. So today we want to serve these customers. And at the same time, because we have served these customers, we have developed a relationship and we understand their need now and over the next 24, 36 months, we are perfectly positioned to offer and provide the same customers longer duration energy storage solutions through the same energy management software platform. So this is really the way that I think investors, prospective customer can think about Energy Vault. It's a one-stop shop. It's a company that is thinking not only to push technology into the market, but how the right portfolio is helping now and tomorrow customer to basically matching their expected return to make money with the best available technology and asset and solution today, and entering in strategic long-term relationship with companies like Energy Vault, able to provide solution also in the medium and long term, thanks to the dedication of Energy Vault to innovation. And that was clearly stated since the very beginning of the company when Andrea, Bill Gross, the CEO of the company, Robert Picconi, established the culture within the company of continuous and unstoppable search for innovation.
Excellent. Our research on the company is available upon request with our sales force. Gentlemen, thank you both so much for your time today. I think it's really been time well spent, and I look forward to speaking with both of you in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Oh, my pleasure.